All right. And we are now back live with the Blame Girl podcast with,
Mr. Terry Wayne.
and we got Erica Lederman in the house. Welcome, Erica.
Night.
How was your weekend, Erica?
Yeah, it was good. I had a show on Friday night at the Sims house in Jupiter with Jimmy Schubert.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Phil Ismay and CJ Bogue was hosting.
What a
Yeah,
good lineup.
Yeah.
What a good lineup. Terry, how was your weekend?
Fine, I guess. My weekend doesn't start until 3 o'clock when the AFC and NFC championship games start. That's when my weekend starts.
Like 3 p.m. today?
Yes, later today will be the NFC and AFC championship games, which I wasn't really interested in because once the Dolphins got knocked out, but you gotta love the Lions. So that's who I'm rooting for.
Terry, this is not a football podcast. I've told you.
I understand, but you asked me how my weekend was. That's my weekend. My weekend are these games.
I'm glad
and
because every time we have a guy, they'll be like, oh.
Well, no, it's playoff season, so that's what guys are talking about. Sorry, but
yeah,
no, you gotta love the Lions. Never won a Super Bowl, haven't won a playoff game in almost 30 years. Gotta love those underdogs.
Yeah. Erica, I want to circle back to your weekend. How was it performing with Jimmy and Phil and all the?
Yeah, it was great. It was a really great show. It was at the Historical Society in Jupiter.
Wow, who put that show together?
Yeah, they did. It was their first one.
Okay.
So they wanted a big name for their first show. And
the venue.
Yeah, the venue did.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So
and they came across your name.
Yeah, I was very fortunate and honored to be booked. CJ reached out if I wanted to open.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was great. And yeah, it was a great show. Everyone there was kind of hand selected in like the membership of the club, so they all wanted to be there and bought tickets. And
so it's always nice to have a crowd that wants to be there, and they're there, they'll like laugh.
Yeah, exactly. They knew there was going to be comedy.
How much time did you get to do?
I did about 7 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I did comedy this weekend too. I think I'm sitting here and I'm blanking because I fucking do comedy so much. Okay, Friday I did it was Isabella Lazikis. We lost her. She was a member of the comedy community. I hadn't had a chance to get on yet, but she's gone. And so there was a memorial for her on Friday. And I stopped by that and that was really nice. She had a nice turnout. She was very loved. And I just did comedy, had a good set there. Then I went over to the off the cuff mic at the Best Western, that is the center of our rural comedians of South Florida, and did the Adam Ray was the headliner, and it was, I think, the best off the cuff mic I've been to yet. And I'm really like proud that Warren's been able to get like crowds there, not only Friday night, but I had a show last night in Jensen Beach at Perfect Ash Cigar Bar. Juan Torres put that show together, and I stopped back by because the show was, the way it works is off the cuff. He runs like this Kill Tony style mic. It's like a minute and a half, and you have to basically kill whoever the headliner is, and you win a spot with him the next day. The headliner was Adam Ray, and Crystal Janae, if y'all remember her, she won. And Shannon Lalim, she's also been on the show. I've been on her podcast. She also won a spot. And Royce Emery, he's a little older of a gentleman. But and then they pulled some random kid out of the crowd that, because they'll do this like one thing, like in the middle of the mic, they'll give you a premise and you've got to finish it, and they'll let everyone try out. This kid won, so he got to be on the show too. So I stopped back by there on my way back, and then yeah, that was my weekend pretty much. And now here we are Sunday. Why are you looking like that, Terry?
Nothing, just something funny in the background.
Hey,
cats being cats.
Oh, it's the cats. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought it was your wife. All right. Are y'all ready to do some blaming?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. This first topic, I was so excited when Terry sent it to me because I was trolling on Instagram and I see Jon Stewart behind the Daily Show desk, and I'm like, please, you, like, don't tease us. And then Terry sends me that Jon Stewart is coming back to the Daily Show. Who's to blame, guys? Why is this happening? Why are we so blessed in
I'll tell you
2020?
who's to blame. A very, very unhealthy list or corral of replacement hosts. The rest of there's no clear winner after all these people coming on doing weeks on their own, and
Yeah, they were all
there's
really
just no.
good. One of my favorites was Leslie Jones. I would take her.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think she's a good fit for that particular show. I love Leslie Jones, but I like her on Saturday Night Live, and I like her on the Seth Meyers show. But I don't know. I don't think she's a good fit for that
Watch
show.
hosted the Daily Show.
Yes, but it comes across too silly a lot of the time. Like you have to have some seriousness to you.
Jon Stewart was very silly. Please,
At times, yes, at times, but a little goes a long way.
what do you think, Erica?
I think bad ratings are to blame. Just nobody was watching. The audience
That's
disappeared.
another thing. Nobody who has cable anymore. Like seriously, who doesn't just stream everything?
I definitely haven't watched in a while, but I don't even think it's that. You know what I think? Donald Trump's to blame.
Yeah, he's coming back.
He's running again, and the reason John's getting back on the desk is for the season, for the election season, and that's it. So I think it's really that the election season's to blame. He knows America needs him right now to make fun of conservatives and MAGA so that some people will wake the fuck up and vote in the right direction or not vote,
And it should be noted he's only doing Mondays. So
Yeah.
before everybody gets too excited, he's only going to be on the Monday shows.
And then he's just going to keep the rotation going. And I kind of don't hate the rotation. I don't hate that they've moved to this style and it's not just one person on the desk every night. So
it worked for 60 minutes, just a bunch of different hosts, bunch of different correspondents.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm glad to have him back. He is definitely one of the reasons I started comedy. I love that political humor, and no one does it like Mr. Jon Stewart. So welcome back, John. We're so happy to have you. All right. You know who we're not happy to have? No, actually, I'll take that back. We're happy to have an $83 million judgment against Donald Trump. Y'all, who's to blame for this judgment?
Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I don't know. Jean Carroll, first of all, I don't think her reputation is worth $83 million.
It was those punitive damages.
So I guess the damages are to blame.
Yeah, punitive damages. It was like 7 million and then another 13 million and then 63 or 53 billion. I was like, wow, those punitive damages is great. Yeah, I would lean towards blaming the punitive damages, but what do you think, Terry?
I think that he should be fine because he says he's this multi-billionaire, so 83 million, no big deal, right? Because if he's got all the money he says he does, 83 million, that's no skin off his nose. By the way, everybody's talking about the payment and the settlement and the civil trial. I don't think everybody's giving enough attention to the fact that the only reason we have this settlement is that a jury of 12 people all agreed that Donald Trump did in fact sexually assault this woman.
That's a member.
That's the story. That is the story. We have a man who was president and wants to become president again, has essentially been convicted of sexual assault.
I'm gonna get my blame in here, and I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's because he grabbed her by the pussy, and then talked about grabbing people by the pussy. You're guilty. That's who's to blame. It's you, Don. You are so arrogant to go on talking about grabbing women by their crotches. A woman accuses you of grabbing her by her crotch, and you defame her. Good. I'm glad you got those punitive damages that you won't fucking pay because you don't even pay bills that you already get. So,
which, by the way,
poor woman's gonna get this money, but
not to mention the jury decided to give her 3 times the amount they were asking for. So, I mean, that's kind of how big of a dick he is.
It's like, who who's still supporting this guy? Like, who still believes in this guy?
70 million
A
people.
lot of people apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they support criminals. We support criminals. I think I'm gonna add the grab him by the pussy to the existing Donald Trump joke I've been telling. I don't say his name, but I'm like,
And here's the thing. I know a lot of these conservatives. I have them in my family. They're definitely in my community. It's not so much that they love Donald Trump. It's that they hate what the far left does so much that they'd rather anybody. But and I'm not even saying it's the left that's doing it, but the far left, yeah, it's definitely doing it.
they love it. They love this dude. They love his ways. They love his. I see them on these clips online, and they're like, you know what I'm saying? And now it's also a black man. Like, so they're like, you can't even convince them. They think he's a nigga too. So they just
You say that, but there was a poll that was very that I found very positive that came out of the New Hampshire primary, which was they did a straw poll from the New Hampshire primary after it was over, and 35% of Republicans in New Hampshire said if Donald Trump is the nominee, they will not vote for him.
Oh,
yeah.
come again?
They said 35% of Republicans in New Hampshire said that if Donald Trump is the candidate, they will not vote for him in
Not a majority.
In the general. It doesn't matter. All you have to do is lose 35% of your base.
Yeah.
He's not winning by 35% over.
So that's like, what is that? That's left. That's 65% of his base is left. I don't.
Right. But if he loses 35% of his base, is he beating Joe Biden by 35%? No.
Yeah, probably not.
But amongst the conservative, he's still going to be the candidate. You know what I'm saying? 34%.
I don't think she's getting it.
No, but they're not going to go out and vote for him.
They're not going to go out. You're saying those
in the
34%
general
are going to vote for Joe Biden
or just not vote.
They're saying or just not vote, which is the same as voting for Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. If you're not voting against him, you're voting for him, which is what everybody said in 2016 when a bunch of people said they weren't going to vote at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colorado, they're not putting him on the ballot at all. What happened?
Yeah, there's some states that are just not even adding him to the ballot.
The Supreme Court hasn't ruled on that, but most legal scholars say that they will not uphold that ban. Only, and there is a good point here, only because legally Donald Trump has never been convicted of an insurrection. He's never been convicted of any crimes against the government. So because he's never been convicted, he can't be held off the ballot. Even though we all watched him do it and we all saw it, and he's basically admitted to it on a daily basis.
Are they not prosecuting him? Because I remember they were investigating it, and then they talked about it, but they didn't bring any criminal charges.
Again, yes, they are. In Georgia, that's what the Georgia trial is about. It's about him trying to overturn the election, the 11,200 and some odd votes in that phone call. Okay. But again, at this point in time, he's just under investigation. He's under indictment, but he has not been convicted at this point in time.
What you're saying? You're saying he hasn't been convicted.
So legally, there is no merit to keep him off the ballot
right now. But are we going to have a verdict in time? Is the question.
No, we won't have a verdict in time to then turn around and put new bills forward and put new lawsuits forward to then say he needs to be off the ballot, because now he has been convicted. There's just not enough time for all that.
May he be disqualified once he's convicted?
Yeah, but then it's going to come down to the House and the Senate, and come on.
And then they'll put whoever his running mate is.
Yeah. No, there's two.
Would he be removed from office? He'd have to be impeached, but he was already impeached so many times. I don't know how it works.
Yeah. No, and no sitting president has ever been removed from office, even after impeachment. Look at Bill Clinton, Donald Trump. They've both been impeached and weren't removed from office. Trump was impeached twice, and still no. Nixon resigned before he could be. Nixon resigned before he could be thrown out of office.
But it was okay. He was
he resigned because he knew he was about to be the first president to ever be thrown out.
He was a humble president, a humble criminal. I mean, you know who are not humble criminals? these parents that are being held criminally liable for their son shooting up the school. Now they are holding parents accountable for when your kid shoots up a school. Is this fair? Who's to blame, guys? Why is this going on? Is this what we needed instead of no guns? Like,
I believe it's
It's
fair if there's evidence. So in this particular case, with what's his name? Ethan Crumbly, right? Was the
Mhm.
shooter. So his mom had evidence that he was planning it.
Yeah.
So in that case, I think it's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
just across the board charging parents,
yeah,
obviously not as a blanket rule,
She
but in
knew-
this particular case, it
she
looks
knew he
like,
was planning it. He had access to weapons, and she knew that, and didn't try to stop it.
yeah.
Well, it depends. Exactly. It depends on the situation. If you've got a situation like the Columbine massacre, no, I don't think the parents should be responsible for that because those two teenagers broke into their grandfather's house, stole his guns, used those guns to do all this stuff, didn't show any outward signs of mental illness or, getting to that psychological break. However, if we go to like the Sandy Hook shooting, where his mother actually bought his AR-15 for him as a gift, and then ignored all the signs that her son was going downhill. If she hadn't been killed by him in that thing, I think she would have been held responsible, and I think she should have been.
I mean, could you not argue that the Columbine parents also ignored signs? You know what I'm
No,
saying? If it's your child, I feel like you should know
no,
that.
they looked into all of that. And I've gone through that years ago, through that whole thing. No, there was no outward signs. They just look like moody teens. If your teens are goth, everything's going to look weird. But there's plenty of goth teens out there that don't shoot up their school. But again, they weren't furnished firearms by their parents openly either.
Yeah, and
You
they
know,
those guys, like you said, but
Mm.
there's been many different scenarios since the first shooting, the Columbine shooting. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we're here where we're actually holding parents accountable so that they know that they're, even though their kid might go to jail, they may go with them. You gonna do time too.
well, that's the best part about all this is because that's how you get real change made
Mhm.
when it comes to common sense gun laws. And I've talked about this many times. I own a firearm. I've been around firearms my whole life. My father has a ton of them.
We know you're a
Main,
Southern man, Terry. It's fine.
no, I'm saying he has a bunch of hunting rifles. No assault rifles, but um, so I see both sides of it, but I definitely think that the assault weapons ban we used to have in place back in the 90s needs to come back. When I was into shooting sports and I was doing trap and skeet and all this other stuff, uh, we would talk about it at the range. You couldn't have you couldn't have an assault rifle. So if somebody ever showed up with one, it was like a big thing because like get out of here because that's a felony. That's a federal offense. Uh, and I don't think it takes a genius to figure out that we had an assault weapons ban and then we took it away. And when we took it away, up until this point, mass shootings have risen by 80%. So it
And
doesn't take a genius to know what know what the problem is here.
that's never lie to you.
But that's how you but that's how you get around this is
I'll take
because
that back. The stats sometimes they do lie to you. I don't want to
well
just get stated.
but that's how you get real shit done is now parents have to be afraid of, oh my god, if my little weirdo kid goes and shoots up his school, I'm going to prison.
My little weirdo.
Let's keep the guns out of his hand and let's petition our lawmakers to help keep the guns out of his hand because I don't want to be somebody's plaything in prison. So
You know, who does not need a gun right now, guys? That is Nicki Minaj. Okay. Nicki Minaj is spiraling all over the internet. It started on TikTok with this creator that reads celebrity blind items. She said that her tour was gonna get canceled because she's needs rehab from cocaine. So Nicki goes onto her thing and just blows her up, 100 comments. And people are like, does Nicki Minaj know how famous she is? And then the very next day, Megan Thee Stallion comes out with Hiss. And she gives one little bar about Nicki She don't say Nikki's name. She just said, "You worried about Megan? You need to be worried about Megan's law," which if you don't know, it's a law that makes pedophiles have to register in California. So, with that said, Nikki goes on live and is like just babbling and babbling, talking about Megan's foot, Megan's mom. Y'all, why isn't it? What's wrong with her? Who's to blame? Why is she doing all this?
Honestly,
Go.
oh boy, it's just beyond my comprehension. I'll go ahead and just say the patriarchy, just because they're always to blame for everything.
Even for the girls fighting.
Yeah.
The patriarchy.
Women
Yeah.
are crazy because men are assholes.
Men, white people, and capitalism.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it. The patriarchy.
How very nuanced of a response to that. No, I mean, yeah, I mean, if she needs rehab, if she needs help, she should definitely get it. I'm not familiar with this story. Obviously, I did not bring this story to the table.
Right.
But I mean, when is Nicki Minaj? I remember her being in a beef with what's her name? Miley Cyrus of all people at that award show where she's like, "What's good, Miley?" You know, like getting all out of pocket on national television. So I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, this is just another industry scheme to sell more tickets, sell more albums.
I would you say capitalism, and I would say capitalism because I've been thinking today, this is just boosting Megan's sales, and then Nicki's gonna come out with a response album, and it's gonna boost her. I would say that if she wasn't already pre-spiraling, because that other thing with the TikToker, multiple TikTokers, everybody has their little groups. Hers are the Barbs. The Barbs has gotten all these like TikTokers we've grown to love, like accounts banned. They're doxing people. She's bullying people. She's on Twitter saying no bullying, but then going on these like coke rants. It's so crazy. And I hate to see this happening to her. I was never a big Nicki Minaj fan. She do got some bars, but I'm old, so it's like Foxy Brown and Lil Kim. That's who I grew up with, right? So Nicki, the kids I taught were listening to Nicki. So, and now Nicki's the old lady, and I'm like, I'm the really old lady. So, but then everyone's like, definitely not everyone that's not a Barb's is not having this behavior, and it's just crazy that, someone that has so much influence in rap, um, just with women, she's acting like this. And I think also with Nicki, her being married to someone who is a sexual offender, is killing her capitalism. You know? Okay, maybe I shouldn't have changed it to the border. Y'all are so bored talking about this.
Yeah, I know. It's so boring.
Characters.
I thought it was so exciting. I was like, oh, I got to talk about this week. There'll be people that like
This
it.
is why you don't pick the articles.
Lying. I do pick some of the articles. I don't think I picked
Yeah.
this week though.
No, you pick things that are interesting to you.
Yeah, I mean, and you pick things that are interesting to you. That's how it
No,
works.
I pick things that'll make good conversation.
Me too.
Okay. Well, this one worked out.
Get much out of y'all on this one because I guess y'all are just. I added it too late. I added it right before the podcast started. Do you want to do the border one? You can do it.
You know, the only thoughts I had on the border was like, obviously it's an issue. It's been
Tell
an
us
issue.
what the issue is.
What's that?
Tell us what the issue is.
Well, there's a migrant crisis at the border. There's a lot of people trying to get here from not mainly Mexico. It's mainly Central American countries like Guatemala and Panama that are now migrating up through Mexico to try to get into the U.S. Now,
This has been going on for quite some time.
that's true, but now it's reaching kind of a critical mass where we have people that are camped out along the border, but on the Mexico side, so you can't really do anything. And either they're gonna, they're trying to sneak in, or they're trying to come through with legitimate, what do they call it? Now I'm having a brain fart. Legitimate. I can't remember what it's called, but you can legitimately come here if you feel a fear for your life, politically or criminally, from your home country.
Like
Um,
refugee.
yeah, refugee status. I'm trying to remember what the U.S. call it, but uh, my main thing is we still need migrants. Like, do you know what happens if we took every migrant worker out of America right now? Our entire economy would collapse. Did you know that? I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Well, it would, because 80% of all fruits and vegetables are still handpicked. They're too delicate to be mechanized. So, say for instance, Republicans got their way and every migrant worker left tomorrow, you're going to be paying like $18 to $20 per pound for tomatoes.
Yeah.
Like the entire economy would
It
collapse
costs
because you
food
can't
right
you
now.
can't you can't get an American to go out for $20 a day and pick fruit and vegetables in the hot sun. You just can't do that. But a guy from Honduras who fled here for his life and his family's, he'll go out there every day and do that for $20, no problem. So
Can't get to work,
Mhm.
right? And then I don't know how he'd be able to live off of it. But what they do is they kind of do a family style, right? And they all support it. I don't know. I think that I've always thought that, like, why are we even making this an issue? Let them come in. Yeah, we do need them, hands down. It's not just because they pick fruits and everything, but
well,
wait, let me finish.
okay.
They're mad at Americans because we're not reproducing like they want to. Well, let's more fucking people in the country. Problem solved. Quit making
They
us
do
have
love
babies.
Yeah,
Quit making us have
Mhm.
the, you know?
we need people to take care of us when we're old.
Yeah.
Well, there is a good point to that, because for every, I think it almost comes down to like a nationalist cruelty kind of a thing,
Yeah.
because for some reason, if you
Racism.
were to, well, I would say nationalism more than anything, because it's more about the country than it is about the race. It's more about, we were
No,
born
it's
here.
not, because they don't do
Okay,
this
well, in my
for
opinion, because you can't just say what these people are thinking. So in my opinion, it's more about the nationalism, because I've seen people, black and white, saying, "Hey, I was born here, so I have the right to blah blah blah." So yeah, it's more about nationalism. But anyway, the point is, if Joe Biden was to come out and say, we're going to spend $10 billion to shuffle these people into the country, people would lose their minds. But if Trump comes out and says, we're going to spend $20 billion to build a border wall, those same people would be cheering him in his rallies. So it is right. I'm just saying. So you are kind of looking at it like, you're okay with spending double the amount of money to build a wall to try to keep them out, rather than half trying to integrate them into the society.
all
That's
because,
where I see the cruelty at,
according to Terry.
according to Terry. Yeah. Well, again, why
Well,
why?
they are brown. They're brown. Too brown to just be let them in, because they let other ones in and they don't try to keep them out.
Okay.
All right, let's lighten up the mood. I knew we should have left on Megan. That was light, Megan and Nikki, but uh, we got
Mm.
Erica Lederman. Welcome. How long you been
Thank
doing
you.
comedy?
A little over a year. I started in October of 2022.
How'd you get started?
So I thought about doing comedy for a long time. My grandmother was a stand-up comedian her whole life. She did it all the way up until she died at the age of 93.
We'll get back into it. We'll have to talk more about that.
Yeah.
But when we,
But I always
I'm sorry, it was asylum seekers. That's what I was thinking about earlier. Got it.
okay. What were
Sorry.
you saying?
But I always lived in like Chicago and New York, and I found the comedy scenes in those big cities really intimidating.
Mhm.
And I was really afraid of embarrassing myself and not doing well. So I moved down here and I met Trace Rossi
Okay.
through a meetup group. We became friends.
Nice.
And Trace is a comedian, of course. So I was following him, just tagging along to open mics, around Lake Worth or wherever. And yeah, I just found the comedy scene here to be a lot more accessible. And I had just gotten out of a really bad relationship as well a few months earlier. So I had some material from that.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
very cathartic to write all that out. And yeah, so that's how I got started. And it's been going pretty well. ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Where did you start? Like, which open mic did you say you started?
It was Blueprint. So
I remember
since
that.
List, yeah.
I remember that. It's
Blueprint
been
was our very
on
first.
Gaetano, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I remember it. Yeah. And what did you think when you first started? Like, were you like, because you're still doing it, were you like,
Mhm.
oh, I can't wait to get back into it? Or
I really liked it. I had I had a ton of stage anxiety. I had like actual panic attacks a couple of times on stage. So really my only goal starting was to be comfortable holding the microphone and doing public speaking.
Mhm.
And then once I got that, then it became more about writing jokes. And then I set time. So I was like, I want a 5-minute set and then a 10-minute set. And so I just kept setting these like milestones for myself that were pretty
That's
achievable.
pretty good.
Then getting my first book show was a big
I
milestone.
remember all this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So since you've been doing it, what's become your favorite venue to perform at? And you can't say it.
Can't say the improvs. Too easy.
Okay. I have actually never performed at an improv. Boca
Even
Black,
easier.
I think. I've done Boca. So the first show I actually ever did was Boca Black Box.
Okay, nice.
Mike Cintron booked me. And then I also, my first and so far, I think only booked hosting gig was also Boca Black Box.
Yeah.
So it is a really nice venue. You know, it's a kind of a speakeasy type feel and it's a really cool,
That 2.0
spot. Yeah, the 2.0, the box. And just being my first, you know, it has a special place in my heart.
Yeah. No, I love that room too. Mike Cintron definitely is very helpful with new comics, giving them like their first shows a lot
Especially
of times.
female ones.
He looks men too.
Yeah, he does.
I know.
None of that here, okay?
I'm just spilling tea. That's all.
Anyway, it's been a long time.
I know.
So yeah, the Boca Black Box 2.0 is your favorite venue to perform at. Do you have a favorite open mic spot?
All my favorite open mics have ended, unfortunately. I mean, Matthews used to be my favorite. Of course, that ended a while
Matthews
ago.
was a good one.
Yeah. Sad Man, which is a relatively new one.
Yeah, I like
It's
Sad
a
Man.
good current one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the new favorite right now.
I haven't been down there in a few weeks, but
Until we get that O'Shea's up like tight. It was really good this past week, O'Shea's. I feel like it was. All right. So have you had the opportunity to travel? And even if you haven't gone outside of Florida, talk about where you've gone in Florida.
Well, I used to travel a lot, actually. So I've lived in a few different countries.
No. I mean,
for comedy.
Yes.
Okay. So for comedy, I have only ever done an open mic in Chicago.
Ooh, you finally got on the Chicago stage. How was that?
It was okay. It was a little brewery. I was like the only female. The host was female and it was me and everyone else was a dude. All like white dudes.
Oh, really?
And it was different. It was like a little bit more like cerebral, highbrow type comedy. So different than the Florida scene for sure.
It is. I remember this comedian from down here, Elaine Golden. She moved up there to go do comedy, and I mean, she's still doing it. I don't know, like if it's worked out better up there. Do you think there's more opportunities up there?
I wasn't there long enough to like poke around. I was only there for a few days, and I was like, oh, well, I'm here. I might as well hop on one. I think once you're networked in and you know what's going on, there is a lot, but there's a lot more competition as well. But obviously there's Second City in Chicago, which has a massive, you know, flow of comedians going out to SNL and other places.
All right. So what's become your like proudest or favorite moment since you've become a comedian?
Proudest? I mean, again, my first book show, I was really happy. I did a show at Lilo's library, and that was probably my best set I've ever done. I go to a gym nearby here, that's like a little family oriented gym, and there's like a big community, and it was somebody's birthday. So for the birthday, they all came out to watch the show at Lilo's, and they packed it out, and they were all drunk, and it was just the best audience I had.
I love Lilo's.
Yeah, it's a great stage, great place. That was probably like just being on stage and the energy that I was getting was the most exciting moment I've had.
Isn't it interesting how that can be in a little intimate venue like Lilo's and not necessarily at the Improv? So that's awesome. What's been your biggest challenge as a comedian?
recently is writing new material. The material that I still use is like fairly old. It's been rough getting some new stuff. I'm trying to get a lot of my set is about like sex and drugs and dating and you know, kind of the more risque whatever stuff. So I'm trying to get away from that, doing more clean stuff, everyday observational stuff, and it's so much harder to write. I mean, I am writing, but none
What's
of
your
it's that good.
process?
Honestly, it's a little chaotic. I should probably get a more organized process on like a daily basis. But I think about writing a lot when I'm driving, actually. So if I think of something when I'm driving, I'll do the voice recorder and just record myself with my ideas, and then later I'll jot it down and see if I can make anything work. But my best jokes are really just ones that come to me kind of fully formed. I don't really have to try to write them.
You mean like the premise and the punchline?
Yeah. Like I was at the doctor's office at the eye doctor when they flashed my eye with that bright light, and I have a joke about, you know, doctors being sadists and asking you to do impossible things, and that whole joke just came to me like fully formed.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I do need to sit down and really, I have a whole document.
Like, I don't want to say like my process is organized. I just write them down when
Mhm.
that's the process. Write that shit down.
Yeah.
Make sure
just
you
record
have it.
Don't think I'll remember it. You will not.
Yeah, don't, because
Yeah.
in the moment I've lost so many jokes like that, just not writing them down, and then you can work on them. And then you work them at Mike's pretty frequently.
Yeah,
when you
I do workshop at Mike's.
Because I remember at O'Shea's you said you were working, because we had that little
Yeah.
issue with being clean up front, and you were like, yeah.
I'm working on some jokes about aging and skincare, and I had some stuff I was working on about death, but then when Izzy passed, I kind of shelved those for a while just because it's a little sensitive now.
Make everyone sadder.
Yeah, I might revisit it in a few months and see, but yeah, I've been thinking about aging and just getting gray hairs and things and wrinkles and
existential crisis.
Yeah.
Comedy. But I think that kind of stuff is pretty relatable. What else do I want to talk to you about with regard to how much time do you have?
I've done 15. I probably could do a couple more, but it would kind of be a stretch. Like there's a few minutes of filler in there. I probably have like a really solid 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Terry, you got anything for the guests? Or are you watching football?
No, football's not on yet. But generally, I mean, because you're pretty new.
Yeah.
Yes. How long you been doing it? You said
about 15 months.
About 15 months. Okay, so a lot of the times people get discouraged when they start because they feel like if you've got it, you've got it, and you know, if it's real for you, then you should automatically start seeing results. Do you feel that at all? Do you feel like pressure that if people don't instantly respond to you, that maybe it's not for you? Do you feel like that insecurity?
I did at first. It definitely took me a while to find my footing. I had a lot of stage anxiety. Now that I know, especially if it's like a 7-minute set, like the set I did on Friday, I know that those are good jokes that have worked before. So if I do a show and it doesn't work well that night, I don't really get upset or take it personally. I'm like, well, I know they're good jokes. They've worked before multiple times. So I think now I do have some confidence, at least with what I've written. I mean, trying to generate more material has been hard, but
well, the only reason I ask that, it's nothing particular to you. I noticed that with most beginners are in their first year, they assume that there's going to be I always used to say there's no scouts here. Okay. Like, because they all think the same thing. It's like, oh, well, somebody's going to see me and that's how you become great. And it's like, you kind of have to remind yourself, like, just because it's show business doesn't mean it's not business, just like anything else. It's something you have to continue to work on and continue to progress. You got to put your 10,000 hours in with this, just like anything else.
Yeah.
10,000, huh?
That's what they say.
I'm not pursuing comedy as a full-time career. So I'm a little bit more relaxed about my goals than a lot of the other people in the scene. Yeah. I really am doing it primarily for pleasure. As a creative outlet. It is in my genes, to honor my grandmother. At most it's a side. right? It's never going to be my main thing. So if I have a slow month, I have a slow month. That's fine. I'm not going to stress
That's a
about
great
it.
attitude.
If I do like 2 or 3 book shows a month, I'm pretty happy. Like January, I did 3 book shows.
Yeah,
And I was pretty happy with that.
that's good. It's nice to like reflect and be like, I remember when I was just wanting to be booked. And
Yeah.
now I'm like
Yeah.
steady. You get steady
Yeah.
work, so that's
You know,
good.
people are actively reaching out and
Do you how do you feel as a woman in comedy?
I mean, I haven't had too many like issues with harassment or anything really extreme like that. You know, there definitely are, you know, some awkward interactions, you know, guys asking you to write together or whatever.
Oh.
It happens less out in a while and people know that I'm not going anywhere. It happened a lot more at the beginning.
Mhm.
And a lot of those guys are now my friends, which is kind of funny, but you know, it is what it is.
And we'll write with them now.
Yeah.
What about just do you feel like you get treated any difference
I
by the
mean,
crowd or otherwise?
I feel like I get treated more kindly by the crowd, actually. I've never been heckled, not once.
Interesting.
I have never completely bombed. Obviously, some shows are better than others. I feel like people are polite to me because I'm a woman and my jokes are not political, they're not race oriented, they're, you know, they're about dating and psychedelics. Like they're kind of cutesy at the end of the day. So if anything, I feel like I get treated a little bit more gently.
Nice. That's good. All right, so let's get to know you a little bit. Like where you from? You want to talk about your day job, your family, or any other projects you got going on?
Well, I'm from Connecticut originally. I moved to Florida almost 3 years ago. I have one brother who has 2 kids, so my niece and my nephew. I have no children of my own, which hopefully will stay that way. And yeah, I don't know, like I said earlier, my grandmother, my dad's mom, was a professional comedian, really an entertainer. So she sang and did jokes and hostess stuff.
Where at?
So in New York originally.
Wow.
So if you've seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel,
Mhm.
she basically that. Like she did the whole, you know, Lower West Side and the whole Catskills area, that whole circuit in New York and New York area, like New York City area. And then she moved down here in the 80s, and then she died in 2003. So between mid 80s and 2003, she did Hollywood mainly and other places around South Florida.
Wow, that's so amazing.
Did she also take her top off on stage?
She did not. Not that I'm aware of.
Too bad.
At least
Neither has Erica.
Huh?
I said neither has Erica, but you're talking about Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Well, you want to get booked more, you know. That's
I did it. No, I'm just kidding. My boobs did come out. It was a fun show like that. And I'm an exhibitionist, so it's okay. Okay. Are you ready to play the blame game?
Sure.
about you though. This one's about you.
He just mansplained the blame game.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Well, because you never explain it, so I have to.
You should explain it on the notes so they know. All right.
Yeah.
You are about to live that van life. Who's to blame?
Oh, good question. Probably skydiving is the reason I finally pulled the trigger. I've been thinking about it a long time. You know, all the Instagram influencers make it look so cool. But I always got stuck on where to physically go and park. But with skydiving, you can park at the skydiving drop zones. A lot of them are basically set up like RV hookups and everything. So that solved the answer. And yeah, I don't know. I've met so many people doing it and I'm so jealous of that lifestyle and the freedom.
So you like skydiving?
I do. I started skydiving in July. I'm up to 7.
He's like, fuck the van life.
What does it feel like to be crazy?
You
should know.
It's interesting. Skydiving is a crazy sport filled with crazy people. I've had a wild ride so far. I have 74 jumps, which is nothing. I mean, basically anything under 5.
Oh my God. People be doing that much?
Yeah. People will do like 18 jumps in a day. Like,
how much does it cost?
So once you're certified and you have your own gear, it's usually about $30 a jump.
Okay.
So it's comparable to like skiing, scuba diving in terms of cost.
Okay.
It's not that. Obviously, a tandem skydive is like $200 something. It's not that expensive every time. That would be insane.
Let's all die together.
Death is rare. Most people just get broken legs. Broken legs are common.
Have you ever broken your leg?
I have not. I did mess up my ankle a little bit on one landing, but
Yeah.
I was okay. I walked it off.
Girl, I'm scared.
Just a broken leg, no big whoop.
I'm scared. To
It is kind of crazy. People will break their leg like 3 or 4 times. So like, oh, whatever, another broken leg. They'll still jump on it. Got like screws in their ankle. They still jump. They break the screw. They're like, oh, I got another screw.
Got some real point break players here. I can
Where are
see.
you gonna take your van? Where's some hot skydiving points?
Well, my home drop zone is Skydive Sebastian, which is up in Sebastian, obviously. That's my home. That's where I got certified.
Okay.
Skydive Chicago is where I plan on spending the summer. They have a huge
You going back to Chicago?
drop zone.
You're
Yeah.
gonna do some comedy up there too.
Hopefully.
You better
And
not waste
then-
that trip.
Yeah.
So Sebastian, Chicago.
Yeah. And then, I mean, all over, there's places out west in California, Arizona. I mean, everywhere, all over the country.
Yeah. And then there's like places to park.
Hmm.
Are you just gonna go places too that you don't have to, that aren't necessarily skydiving zones? Or are you gonna go like,
Probably.
yeah,
Yeah, like national parks and things. It's gonna be hard with my dog. So some places are off limits.
how long do you think you're gonna be doing it?
I really don't know. I'm gonna try the summer away in Chicago,
Mhm.
and that'll be a good test to see if it's even working for me, if it's a good idea. And if I really fall in love with it, I'll shift into it full time and I guess do it.
Yeah. And it's not, I really, like, I was talking to my mom on the way here about my guest, and I was like, she's such an independent, like, she travels, you
Mhm.
travel alone a lot,
I do.
like, out of the country, and so this isn't a far off. And then you have to skydive, so-
Yeah. I try pretty much anything once, yeah. And I have real bad ADHD, so I pick things up and drop them pretty quickly. This whole,
okay,
you
'cause
can't
it-
see the other side of the computer screen is my abandoned food forest. Actually, I bought a lot of these plants from Shannon Lelim.
Is it
and Joey.
abandoned?
It's abandoned. It's basically
I
about
see
like-
bananas.
Yeah, there's bananas, and but
I
I don't take care of it anymore.
I was sitting over here thinking the whole time, look at all the garden, I'm so impressed. but-
Yeah, Shannon sold me a bunch of those.
Yeah,
Yeah, a mango tree, a lime tree. Shannon sold me.
that's awesome. All right. Well, do you want to give out any of your social media or
Yeah, so my Instagram, I'm pretty much, well, I'm on Facebook too, but Instagram's better. So at Erica the comedian, Erica with a C, Erica. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, Erica Lederman also.
TikTok?
I don't have TikTok. I've not given it. I'm too old for TikTok.
No, you're not. You got to stay all up on TikTok.
Mm.
Yeah, not on Twitter either. No Snapchat.
Okay. Okay.
But
All right. Well, follow our friend Erica for any of our shows. And I guess that brings us to Terry Wayne's words for white people. What you got for white people, Erica?
Oh, well, it's championship weekend, so it's got to be words for men this time. It's words for men. Because you'll probably enjoy this too. Because I've been seeing a trend online, especially lately, and I thought we were over this hyper masculinity, because now words like alpha male are used on a daily basis, and beta male, and oh my God, I'm so tired of it. Like, they even know the Greek alphabet other than college fraternities. You know what I mean? And I this came to a head a couple of months ago, where Jesse Waters on Fox News was making fun of Joe Biden and kind of portraying him as this effeminate nature. For what? For drinking a milkshake with a straw. Oh. And I gotta be honest with you, I've been using a straw ever since, just as an act of protest, because you don't tell me what to do. I didn't even like Bud Light, but the second the Kid Rock told me I shouldn't drink it, I was drinking it every day out of spite. You don't tell me what to drink. You know why? Because I'm a man and I stand on my own 2 feet, and I don't have to say I'm an alpha male to make myself feel better. I don't have to make fun of a political rival and call them gay because they drink out of a straw. That's the most beta shit I've ever heard. And I love it when these guys come at me on the message boards, and you don't even know, you're just some cuck. You're just some, male feminist, liberal, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to even have to get into, like, I don't even have to show the masculine things that I've done, masculine things that they would think are masculine, like climbing a mountain and killing a bear and skinning it and bringing it down on my back 6,000 feet. Yeah, they would probably consider that pretty masculine, but I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of talking about that, because a real alpha male, a real man's man, in my opinion, is someone who is more of a Renaissance man. Can you do the quote unquote manly things? Yes. But you also have a good head on your shoulders. You also allow your brain to progress with society and cultural changes. You educate yourself. Even if you don't have access to education, the library's free, player. You know what I mean? Not only that, but open up all of your emotional sides too. You're not a man to me if you're pushing down all your feelings and keeping them tight and putting food on top of them until cancer forms. I don't consider that masculine either. So when that testosterone gets way too in your brain because you're on keto and you're taking HGH and you're trying to get shredded for the ladies, yeah, I'm sure. I'm just tired of all this. I thought we were over this. I thought men had learned to just be themselves and do the things they like, regardless of whether it might be considered effeminate or not. But apparently that monster is rearing its ugly head again. Yes, I can do all those masculine outdoor things. But you know what else I enjoy? I enjoy my Roman tub. You know what I mean? I enjoy a nice...
Being at the games, right?
What's that?
Taylor Swift being at the games.
Yes, exactly. I'm not going to be offended because Taylor Swift is dating a player and wants to be at the games. You know what I think? Good. He's got a supportive woman in his life. Good for him. Maybe then he's not going to go psycho on his family because he pushes down his emotions for 10 years until they all erupt one night when he drinks too much whiskey. You know what I mean? Learn to live your life and live your life. Stop trying to make your high school football coach proud. Stop trying to run from the emasculating thoughts that your uncles gave you when you were a kid. Let it go, man. Because all this time you've been trying to prove to everyone you're an alpha male, it comes off the other way, and it just robs your life of happiness. Be a Renaissance man, because the biggest thing in that phrase is man. Renaissance man. You can do it all and you can be happy and content with yourself. Just stop fighting that high school football coach in your head.
I can't agree more. Yeah, stop fighting that guy.
It's okay to take a bubble bath, guys. It's nice. It's very relaxing.
Raise your sons better. Raise your sons to be not so fucking
toxic,
fragile with their masculinity. It can't be this one thing that breaks their whole masculine.
You can't be masculine and
down the mountain. Do you would? Then shut the fuck up.
I'm just saying, you can't be masculine and be fragile at the same time. You just can't.
All right, Terry, what are we promoting?
Just the book, Unclaimed Ashes, on Amazon right now. Give me your money.
Give Terry your money. I can't remember what I have this week. Let me check and see if I have anything.
Oh, you know what? I got one more thing. Go to my Instagram, Terry Wynn Comedy, because somebody told me I don't have enough followers on there. They was like, why do you not have followers on Instagram? You got thousands on Facebook. Because it was different when I came up in comedy. Everybody was on Facebook. Nobody was on Instagram. But
yep, I have nothing coming up until the 14th, I think. So
ooh, Valentine's Day.
We'll still have something in it. Oh, I do. I have but it's next Tuesday, so I'll tell you about it next Sunday.
All right. See you next Tuesday.
All right. It's next Wednesday. It's Shannon Laleem's Brewers and Gigglers shows at
I did that one, Prosperity.
At Prosperity Brewing. So I'll be there in 2 weeks. But anyway, other than that, until next